Hello, welcome to the light. I I filmed the subject of children the last time, so this shoot I want us to discuss parents. So of course I always speak from my own personal experiences, and it is from the heart. I usually shoot from the heart. I do. And I always want to be honest and open. And because when you're discussing things, it's the only way. It's the only way. Just be open and honest about things. So, I think I touched on being how it felt for me to be a mother, and I realize it's a sacrificing thing, or it can be a lot of the time. It can be. Even though it's an absolute blessing, it's an absolute blessing. There's still some things you're going to have to prioritize for the children instead of yourself. So in that sense, mothers do. So parents do, you know. I was raised by a single mother, mainly. Excuse me. My grandmother was a huge factor in my personal growth, development. Usually, the children are closer to their mother's mother. Your maternal grandmother. Usually, because the mother's close to her mother, and so the children are close to the maternal grandmother. And I was. And I was spent probably more time, physical time, with my grandmother than I physically spent with my mother. So, as a parent, no, as far as parenting went, I actually don't think I got a lot of parenting from my actual mother. I honestly would consider my upbringing defined as the term um, brought up in the village. I was literally brought up in the village. I was literally raised by my grandmother, aunts, and and my mother. So it takes a village. My mother needed a lot of help, and thank God for the village, the aunties and the grandmothers. Thank God for them. Thank God for them. Or we may all be lost to the street. Who knows? I'm just saying. But they definitely played huge parts in throughout my life, childhood, and development. So I'm glad that wasn't all just left to my mother, because it's humanly impossible for her to care for 7 children without a spouse. Single mother of 7. So I know single mothers of 3 that are pulling their hair out, struggling. So, you know, I see my mother as not Mother Teresa, but I mean, she was just like so zen and calm and subdued. I don't know. It's like I saw her like the Buddha or something. She was it's like no matter what was going on, it could have been Hiroshima. She was just subdued. That's what I saw. But you know, otherwise, the flip side of that is just hairy-carry, chaotic, you know, craziness. But she remained calm throughout a lot of things that she had to suffer through. And I know that she did her own personal best to deal with hardships the only way she could. Just not panic, remain calm, and let it pass. So I could see there was a lesson in that, in her disposition, because she, you know, whatever hardships it was, she just somehow sailed through it and let it pass. So I feel that way now as an adult, but as a child, or not really as a child, when I think I started developing more like as a teenager and becoming aware of things, more aware of things in life, and haves and have-nots and all those societal woes. You know, I I felt like I just wanted to scream at the top of my voice, "Don't just sit there, do something." Wanted to tell my mother all the time, don't just sit there, do something. And I remember feeling that way as a teenager with my mother. I wanted to just like wake her up, don't just sit there, do something. But she was that was her nature. She was calm. She was gentle. She really was just a gentle soul, honestly. I mean, just to the core of her. It was just that she was a gentle soul. She wasn't loud. She didn't scream at us. She had 7 kids and did not scream at us. Then everybody find that to be very unusual. Like, what? She didn't. She didn't beat us. We weren't abused. She didn't never beat us. She tried to discipline us in, weird ways because she just didn't know how to. She didn't know how to be aggressive. I think she just didn't know how to be aggressive. She was a gentle soul. But there was times when she thought she was disciplining us. And it was kind of like, yeah, okay, lady, It wasn't really a strong respect factor, like fear respect factor with my mother because that's how calm she was. She didn't curse, she didn't yell, she didn't smoke, she didn't drink, I don't think my mother had one, not even one bad habit. So, I mean, other than describing her as Mother Teresa, she wasn't. I mean, she was human. She was human. She was a human being. She was just she was a gentle soul. So she would cook. She loved to cook. We ate many Creoles. Food is very important to the Creole culture. And they're gonna cook and they're gonna eat. And they're gonna talk about food after they cook it and after they eat it. Then they're gonna talk about the food. It's a culture thing. It's just a culture thing. So we never starved, per se, Never. We're all healthy. No one had ailments or nothing like that. We're basically great health. 7 children, all healthy, fine. Physically. My mother, I think she was a lighthearted person. She was too lighthearted, though. She took things a little too lightly. It's just almost could be described as passive. Just passive. Okay, you guys go ahead out and kill yourself. Everybody, one and all, and just they'll call me when you're done, and you know, I'll clean up after you, maybe. She wasn't overprotective or in our business or what we were doing or where we were going, or we were free. It was basically no discipline, really, because that discipline usually in most families come from who? Yeah, the dad, the father, is the one that's the disciplinarian, and that makes you do something. Did not tell you that's your dad. You better, and oh no, you're going to get off of it. That the dad is the one that's the disciplinarian. Now he's not around. He's around, but not around. He was around, but he wasn't around. He would come to, I remember one time my brother wasn't listening to my mother. And I think he threw something at her. She was sitting down, and he threw something at her. And his house full of girls only had one brother. So that was considered aggressive to us. Oh my God, So he was probably 18, I don't know, at that point. And he was frustrated with her or something. I don't know what the incident was. But he threw something at my mother. And my sister told my dad, I guess she called him, and said, Pharaoh did this to my mother. And my dad came over. He actually came over. And he disciplined my brother. He said, don't ever let me hear you putting your hand on. These are all girls and you're the only boy. And this whole masculine voice and disciplinarian position. And that was it. And that was the end of that. So, that was the only example that we had of any parental discipline. Is if we did something to really warrant it. And honestly, it was a lot of us, but I would not say that we were wild or bad or unruly or out of control. Not even collectively as a group of 7 kids. We were honestly would always hear that we were good, or you guys did good, or you were quiet, or we were polite, or they were respectful, or they were, and we would hear other adults say, I don't mind coming to get them and spend the weekend. They're calm. Oh, I'm going to come and get them for the park and let them play. They're respectful. And I would, of my siblings, I would always hear that they were nice people, kids, well met, not bad or unruly in any way. We were relatively calm. So, I think it has to do with being raised by my grandmother, Southern strong religious woman that believed that you threaten a child's life if they disrespect any elders. Ever. It was a holy war. If any child spoke out of line to an adult in the South, oh my goodness. It was yes ma'am, period. It was yes ma'am, period. Even if they told you to jump off the bridge and you said yes ma'am, but you didn't jump off the bridge, you just said yes. It's how you respond, even if you didn't do it. You was not going to say no, never forget you, old lady. No. No, no, no. No. You. Now, that discipline is totally different. That's like disownment. You don't want to be disowned in the South. No. It's like being it's like being disowned with a pack of animals and they cast out an animal and never let him back into the group. It's like, forget about it. You'll never be related to me again. Like, you wouldn't test it. You just wouldn't test it. So you just said yes, ma'am. So, strong sense of respect, I guess. We definitely was raised with that. Very strong sense of respect. You know, might not have been a disciplined way, but we just knew, you know, you're not going to survive if you say something disrespectful. You either going to die or you're going straight to hell. Period. So we didn't test that. You know, it's like when children knew their place. And we were raised to know our place. We're just from infancy, I think, in the South, they just brought up that way. And all the children are brought up that way. So if one child decides to rebel, they were just the example of what not to do. So you just learned that at an early age. But it's hard for me to speak on the traditional parents. You know, it might be impossible for me to speak on that subject. I could just, like I said, go from my own personal experience. My parents were officially divorced when I was 8 years old. And part of their divorce settlement was the house we kind of grew up in. In Los Angeles, West Los Angeles. And my dad who would come there and randomly. And would just stay. He would sit. He would talk. He would stay around, stick around, go in the backyard with us and sit on the couch or watch TV. He would come. My mother didn't like it, but she didn't stop him. She didn't say, "Don't come over here." You know, he would knock and then come in if the door was open, unlocked. He wouldn't wait for somebody to come to the door. If it was open, he came in. And so she didn't demand that he, don't come up the steps type thing. Nope. He would come in and sit down and stay. A while, anyway. And it would chase her off. She'd run into her room and close the door and roll her eyes and not come out. And if the door was locked and he came over, he would knock at the door and she would say, "Don't answer it." But we would. I remember telling her, "It's Daddy," opening the door for my father. I always did. No matter how many times she said, "Don't answer the door." Like it's my father. I'm opening the door. So. That's not a traditional family arrangement. It just wasn't. But I, didn't have both parents in the same home with me. But essentially I have a mother and a father, in my life. Basically. Very basic. But not in any traditional way. So, I think I dealt with them separately. But they got over it, and he, as we became adults, then they had grandchildren together. Whatever kids we have is their grandchildren now. They're no matter what, we were a family, and they were related. You have too many connections, to disown. Can't disown everybody, the whole family. So he couldn't disown. My mother couldn't disown their connection. They learned to come to the same house for Christmas and sit nearby each other and eat together, whether they wanted to or not, and get in the same conversations. Whatever somebody's talking, they would talk, and they just weren't together anymore. But they were still related in some kind of way, the connection. So, as adults, they accepted each other just on GP, just on general principles. And we got along everybody got along as adults when we started having children. And there was nothing awkward. Um, my mother never talked about my dad bad, no matter what. She never said anything at all. She never said anything good. And she told us some things that happened in their relationship. But she didn't assassinate his character in any way. And she could have in every way. But she never did that. She never did that. She didn't interfere with our relationship with my dad, and she didn't talk down about him. So it wasn't any drama between my parents after their divorce. It was before the divorce. It was worse than drama. And during the divorce, it was worse than drama. And after the divorce, there was still some drama. Some. But by the time we became adults, they accepted whatever happened. And there were some regrets between. Not so much my mother didn't regret, wasn't regretful, but my father was very, very regretful. And he expressed that to me. When I became an adult, we discussed a lot of things when I became an adult about us growing up and his role or his non-role. And so he tried to have an understanding with me about that, and there was some things that's very questionable, but I didn't pose the questions because I knew who he was before he tried to discuss it with me. You know, I know. I know. I know where we came from. I know what he did. I know how he was. I know how he carried himself, and I know. So he didn't have to explain. It wasn't like he explained to me. We just discussed it more than once. So we all learned to accept each other. You know, no matter what, all the family drama, childhood wounds, just got past it. Or tried to. So, my parents were very different than the traditional family. My mother was a good girl. And, you know, she wanted the traditional thing. The husband with all the kids and a house full of kids and the woman in the shoe with the white picket fence and the husband and all that, but, you know, can't make a playboy out of a husband. So my dad was a very handsome guy, very handsome, charisma, cool, and all that. Mm-hmm. And he's a very attractive, and he got a lot of attention from women, and it just, he did things because he could get away with it. He could, because he could do things, so he did. But it affected a lot of people. It affected his wife. It affected my mother. It affected us, the children, and the whole family unit, of course. So, parenting part wasn't the big picture in my family. Just the accepting part was the big picture in my family. Just that we accepted what happened and accepted each other. And life goes on. And my father passed away in 2016. Let's see, a week before his birthday. Or was it a week after his birthday? The week before his birthday. My mother is alive and doing the best she can, watching her age. And she's communicating with me very well. And still accepting each other. And trying to deal with each other and what she's experiencing aging. And we're experiencing having to decide some things that she doesn't want. So parenting takes over, takes on a new dimension when your parents become elderly. They need you. And you could see signs. I definitely see forgetfulness. And I don't know if it's senility, but she repeats the same old stories over and over and over every time I call that I've heard a million times, and she still wants to tell me how she walked across a field of snakes when she was 12 and didn't get bit in Louisiana. So I heard that story about 50 times. But listen to them. Just let them say it 50 times. Let them say it 50 times. Listen, be patient with your aging parents. Because there's going to be a time when I wish I could hear my father's voice just say, anything. So, the patience is what they're going to need. A lot of patience now that they're in the later years of their life. So, be patient with your parents if they're aging. Just let them wear your ear out. Just let them. Put it on speaker and let them tell the story for an hour. And just repeat themselves a million times. Just let them do it. So, I just want to remind everyone that to respect your parents. The Bible says, honor your mother and father. Your days will be long. Just do it. Conjure up the patience. Stay for dinner. And you know it's not going to be necessarily pleasant. Call them and let them talk your ear off. And know that you heard the story 50 times. Just do it. So, if I could just remind you to appreciate your parents in any kind of way, however they came and went. I hardly have the perfect parents. Hardly at all. But you can't pick them. You can't pick your parents. You know? If you can do anything for them, do it. If it's just a phone call, just do it. Just make the phone call and let them talk. And I know some things require every zap of energy out of you. Taking my mother to the grocery store wears me out like I ran 20 miles around a football field. She's at the grocery store for hours. We come out of the grocery store and it's dark outside. Why am I in Albertsons for 6 hours without getting paid? I don't even work here. So it could take all of your patience, all of your energy. It's hard dealing with elderly parents. It's very challenging. Just do it. Just do it. If I could remind you that. Go the extra mile. Conjure up any patience you have. Bring them something special. Call them for their birthday. Deliver something for Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, flowers, whatever. Just do it. Traditional parents are not. You'll miss them when they're not here. No matter what, you'll miss them. So whatever opportunity you have to have a conversation with them or bring them something or take them somewhere, just do it. Right. That's what I just hope to remind everyone tonight. Honor your mother and father, and your days will be long. Love and light.